यथा तरोर्मूलनिषेचनेन तृप्यन्ति तत्स्कन्द भुजोपशाखाः प्राणोपहाराच्च यतेन्द्रियाणां तथैव सर्वार्हणम् अच्युतेज्य. तथैव सर्वार्हणम् अच्युतेज्य. Let us offer everything to that Achyuta. Achyuta, who out of limitless compassion never lets us down, who has promised that he shall never let us down. Let us offer prostrations to that Achyuta as we relish his law of divine love. Manmana bhava madbhaktaha madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyasi satyante pratijane priyosi me. Shloka 18.65. If two shlokas were to be culled out from the Gita, the shlokas are 65 and 66. This shloka is celebrated as Bhagavan's divine law of love, or the law of divine love. Interestingly, Krishna does not repeat himself in the Gita. When I say repeat himself, repeat the same verses. We don't find in the Gita repetition of the same verses. Interestingly, the shloka 65 of the 18th chapter, which is celebrated as the law of divine love, is almost a repetition of an earlier shloka. Manmana bhava madbhaktaha madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyasi yuktvaivam atmanam matparayanaha. This is the concluding shloka of 9th chapter. Both verses more or less similar, but there is also a stark dissimilarity too. Until mame vaishyasi, they are both the shlokas are similar. At the conclusion of 9th chapter, Krishna declares mame vaishyasi yuktvaivam atmanam matparayanaha. Now, towards the conclusion of the Gita, he says mame vaishyasi satyante pratijane priyosi me. Before we dive deep into the shloka, we must understand what is the reason for this repetition. Is there a repetition at all? If there is a reason, what is that reason? First, we must understand that Krishna is about to conclude the Gita. Sarva guhyatamam bhuyah shunume paramam vachaha. Hey Partha, sarva guhyatamam bhuyah. Bhuyah, I am going to once again share with you that supremely confidential knowledge. Shunume paramam vachaha. My supreme words. I'm going to share. I'm going to give you the essence of my teachings once again. Why? Ishtosi me dridamiti. Tato vakshamite hitam. Shloka number 64. Krishna expresses his boundless love for Arjuna and for all of us. By expressing his love, Krishna says, I have given you all the teachings, and I have also given you the freedom to make your choice. Because after teaching the Gita, Krishna says, hey Arjuna, it is now up to you. You have the arsenal with you. You have the treasury of wisdom. Now it is up to you to decide. Decision making is yours, hey Arjuna. But then, as a loving mother, he also looks at Arjuna and says, Arjuna, I know you are struggling to decide. Like how we too struggle to decide. When faced with unimaginable adversities, decision making is not easy. We all keep taking decisions day in and day out. It is easy to take decisions when things are going fine. Faced with a calamity, faced with an adversity, and that too of unimaginable proportions, it is not easy at all, even when we have the treasury of wisdom accessible to us. Krishna, most compassionate, realizes this predicament of Arjuna. He realizes the predicament of each and every one of us. And therefore he says, Arjuna, I understand. I have given you the freedom to make the decision. However, because you are very dear to me, I shall also once again summarize my teaching, give you in a nutshell the very essence, so that it becomes easy for you to make a choice. This is what is called spoon feeding. Having given everything that Arjuna needs, now Krishna says, Ishtosi me dridamiti. Because you are so dear to me, I cannot let you struggle to take a decision. Tato vakshyami te hitam. So having said that, Krishna is now obliged to give him the essence, and that is the reason why manmana bhava madbhaktaha madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyasi satyam te pratijane priyosi me. This is the first reason for Krishna to repeat a very important declaration of his made right in the 9th chapter, which is the crescendo of the 9th chapter, which has the very essence of what is divine love all about. And here he is once again repeating the same in order to drive home that essence, the quintessential essence of all Shastras. At the same time, there is also another important difference. When the shloka was declared in the 9th chapter, the onus was on Arjuna. Mame vaishyasi yuktvaivam atmanam matparayanaha. There, Arjuna is being asked, being told what he should do. Krishna is telling us what we should do. Manmana bhava madbhaktaha madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyasi yuktvaivam atmanam matparayanaha is an injunction, Krishna's directive, prescription to Arjuna and each and every one of us. So that is the first version of the shloka. In the second version, now the onus is not on Arjuna, is on Krishna. Having told Arjuna what you should do, Krishna now says, what I shall do here, Arjuna. So this is Krishna's love and compassion for us. In any relationship, it is very important to give more than to take. Any successful relationship is where there is more giving, more contribution and less expectation. This we can see even in our day-to-day lives. For any relationship to be successful, if I have to have a successful relationship with anyone, I need to necessarily focus on my contribution and not on my expectation. Krishna throughout the Gita teaches us this fundamental principle of successful relationships, and the most fulfilling relationship that we can ever have, the only relationship that lasts forever, is the relationship that we have, each and every one of us, with Krishna. And here too, Krishna from his side is once again demonstrating that he contributes more and he expects less from us. How compassionate he is. Having told Arjuna what you should do, Krishna now says, hey Arjuna, listen. Listen to what I shall do for you. Mame vaishyasi satyante pratijane priyosime. Mame, earlier he told Arjuna, if you do what I have asked you to do, you shall attain me. Now he says, hey Arjuna, be assured, you shall truly attain me. Mame vaishyasi satyam te. This is satyam. And why? Pratijane priyosime. Pratijane, this is my promise. Hey Arjuna, I am making you this solemn pledge. The onus is on me. I promise that you shall attain me truly. This is Satya. And who is saying this? Satya Vachaha. This is the one, Satya Kamaha, Satya Sankalpaha. He is one who is saying, I promise. Pratijane priyosime. Once again, I'm promising this to you because you are so very dear to me, Arjuna. There is no reason for any fear. There is no reason for any insecurity. This is why Bhagavad Gita is revelation of love. Gita is all about revelation of supreme love. And it is not only a revelation of love, it is a loving invitation for love. If you look at throughout the Gita, Gita begins with Krishna's teachings to Arjuna only out of love. When Arjuna sinks into an abyss of despair, grief, Krishna starts to teach him the profound philosophy of the Atman, and that too only for addressing Arjuna's concern on death. Arjuna talks about death and destruction. Krishna changes his perspective and he talks about everlasting life and love. He changes Arjuna's perspective completely and expands it. Gives him an expansive perspective by teaching him Sankhya Yoga out of love. Nanu shochitum arhasi. Hey Arjuna, nanu shochitum arhasi. There is no need for you to worry. Celebrate life and always be happy. This is how Gita begins, the message of love, revelation of love, right at the beginning. And if you look at the middle part of the Gita, it is all about Bhagavan's love. Krishna, while talking about his omnipotence, his omnipresence, his omnibenevolence, and his omniscience, he not only reveals that he is that Parabrahman, he is that Paramatma, he is also the Paramapurusha, the Purushottama, the loving person with whom we can connect, relate, discover our inseparable relationship. And Krishna takes the journey of this revelation of love towards the concluding portions of the Gita, and he takes this essence of love to its crescendo when he says, Ishtosi me dridamiti. Therefore, Gita is a text, a sacred text of revelation of Bhagavan's unconditional, boundless love. And it is an invitation to all of us to connect with him and express our love. So that is why this divine law, where Bhagavan talks about how we can connect with him, expressing our love, is so very important. And that is the reason why this Shloka 18.65 is highly celebrated by all our acharyas, because in a simple verse, it reveals to us the very essence of divine love and gives us an invitation. Now, if we were to look at the pathway that Krishna shows in the Gita, we can see this pathway as nothing but a pathway of love. How do we see this? If we look at all the 18 chapters of the Gita, and if we can draw the pathway that Krishna shows Arjuna throughout the Gita, it is a pathway of love. Now, when we look at science of action, Bhagavad Gita is the art and science of right actions. Now, when we look at the science of action, there are three components to any science of action: knowledge, desires, action. Three major components: jnana, kama, karma. My karma is impelled, driven by my kama, my desire. And my kama is shaped by my jnana. This is the science of action in a nutshell. When jnana is vishaya jnana means when knowledge is only worldly knowledge, materialistic knowledge, when the world view is materialistic, when we are immersed in worldliness, vishaya jnana, viparita jnana, ajnana. All three are almost the same. Ajnana is ignorance. Viparita jnana is jnana where we think I am the body. That is viparita jnana. That is ajnana. That is also vishaya jnana, because we are immersed in worldliness. When jnana is vishaya jnana, our kama, our desires are all vishaya kamas. Selfish desires, all worldly in nature, materialistic desires. Desires to fulfill bodily needs alone. And when our kama is vishaya kama, then our karma then becomes selfish actions, kamya karma. Every action, which means every action that we do is binding in nature, binds us to samsara. Now, Krishna therefore builds the pathway. How do we get out of this vicious cycle? When vishaya jnana, viparita jnana, viparita jnana, it obscures, it makes us blind. Bhagavat Swarupa Tirodhana Karim Viparita Jnana Jananim Svavishayayascha Bhogya Buddhe Jananim. In Sharanagati Gadya, Ramanuja points out Bhagavat Swarupa Tirodhana Karim. We all ask this question: why can't I see God? Why can't I experience Him? Why? Because as long as we are immersed in worldliness, if our jnana is vishaya jnana, we are blinded to truth. We are blinded to reality. And we think summum bonum of life is just to have pleasures, bodily pleasures. Everything ends there. Krishna shows us the pathway of love. He says, when vishaya jnana gives way to atma jnana, when vishaya jnana gives way to atma jnana, then vishaya kama is transfigured to atma kama, and atma kama then drives nishkama karma. Nishkama karma, selfless actions, nishkama karma. Every action that we perform becomes contributory in nature. It's no longer selfish. And then he further leads us on the pathway. When Atma Jnana blossoms into Paramatma Jnana, then Atma Kama transmutes into Bhagavat Kama, and Bhagavat Kama manifests as Kainkarya, loving devotional service to Krishna. This, in summary, is the pathway of love, and that Krishna teaches throughout the Gita. And the crescendo of this is this shloka, which is 1865, Manmana Bhava Madbhaktaha. Now, let us look at each of the key messages that Krishna gives in the shloka. Every phrase in the shloka is so very profound. And let's combine his declaration in the 9th chapter and in the 18th chapter together to get a holistic view of the law of divine love. Manmana bhava madbhaktaha madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyasi atmanam. This is in the 9th chapter. Mame vaishyasi atmanam. Atmanam matparayanaha. Matparayanaha. Matparayanaha is so very important. Krishna says, you have to lead your lives with one supreme goal. The goal of all goals. Krishna looks at Arjuna and says, I have to become your supreme goal. Matparayanaha. The supreme goal in life. Because ultimately, it is the goal in life which shapes our life and living. Many times, we are not clear of our goals. We are not clear of our goals and we have thousands of goals. Most of us don't document our goals, but even those who have the habit of goal setting and document goals are not very clear because there are so many goals. Now, in the context of taking right decisions, the question, what is the right action? When I have to define a right action, as per our Shastras, how do I define a right action? Gita very helps us with the answer. Any action becomes a right action when the goal of that action is in harmony with the supreme goal of life. If the goal of any action that I do is in harmony with the supreme goal, and the supreme goal being attaining Krishna. Now, what is harmony? Harmony is balance in life. Balance across different planes of our life and living. Physical, emotional, mental, spiritual. No, when he says Matparayanaha, he being the supreme goal, bringing balance, harmony across all planes of our existence. Physical, we need to keep the body hale and healthy. We need a healthy body. We need to nourish our body in order for us to do Krishna's work. We cannot neglect this body. So therefore, physical harmony is cultivating the right habits, the right virtues that are required to nourish the body, keep it healthy enough so that it can support the kainkarya that we can do to Krishna. That is physical harmony. With the objective being, he is the ultimate goal. Every physical action, the individual goal of every physical action should be aligned with ultimate goal. Emotional harmony, no, which means essentially having no disturbance in the mind. Because emotion by definition is a disturbance in the mind. And the primordial disturbance in our mind, which influences every emotion that we have, is that emotion of fear, which takes birth because of our misidentification. As long as we identify ourselves with this body, we are in fear. Because this body is going to perish one day. It is already perishing. It is in the process of perishing. If we are deeply identified with something that is going to vanish, we are in fear all the time. So therefore, fear, the primordial fear that is born out of that misidentification, that is responsible for every other negative emotion that we have. No, emotion by default is negative. The only positive emotion are the deep states of our being, love for Krishna and the bliss that we get by loving Krishna. Emotional harmony, therefore, is nothing but conquering that primordial fear. Mental harmony, ensuring that unwanted thoughts are relegated to the back seat and thoughts that revolve around Krishna are given due attention, essentially aligning all the goals to that supreme goal, Krishna. Spiritual harmony is transformation from selfishness, self-centeredness to Atma-centeredness to eventually to Paramatma, Krishna-centeredness. Transforming from running our lives where I, me, myself is a center to realizing that all of us are equal. Samadarshana. The nature of the Atman in every living entity is equal, and therefore also realizing the natural completeness of the Atman. We are Purna by definition. Our nature is to be complete. Incompleteness is our unnatural state. And eventually moving to a state where Krishna is right at the center of our world. Our life and living runs and evolves around Krishna. That is bringing about spiritual harmony. Matparayanaha. essentially is making Krishna, installing him right at the center of everything that we do. Our world has to revolve around Krishna. Mad Bhaktaha. Mad Bhaktaha. So, bhakti, we need to understand, is not different from jnana. Jnana and bhakti are not opposite. Sometimes we confuse. We look at, is jnana or bhakti, are these two choices? There are no choices. Bhakti is a special kind of jnana. Jnana of Bhagavan is bhakti. When jnana blossoms and matures with expansive knowledge of Krishna, it becomes bhakti. Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakritimashritah bhajanti ananya manasaha jnatva bhutadimavyayam. Krishna calls his parama bhaktas Mahatma. We all loosely call ourselves each other Mahatma, without realizing what is the definition of Mahatma. Krishna calls Mahatma the Jnani as the Mahatma, who is Nitya Yuktaha Eka Bhaktihi. Whereas we lose the term Mahatma, wherever we want. But there is a reason for that. Because by calling each of us Mahatmas, we are reminding that we need to reach that stage step by step. We are reminding ourselves that we are all Mahatmas. Right now, we are in an unnatural state. Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakritimashritah. Daivim prakritimashritah. Endowed with sattva guna, abundance of sattva. Bhajanti ananya manasaha. Unwavering, unflinching love to Krishna. Nothing can shake my Shraddha and Bhakti for him. Ananya manasaha. And Krishna adds, Jnatva bhutadimavyayam. This is very, very important. When Krishna says, Mad Bhaktaha, Bhakti is there in each and every one of us. We don't need to get Bhakti from outside. Bhakti is natural to us. We need to discover. Therefore, how do we discover? Through jnana. Jnatva bhutadimavyayam. Arjuna say, hey Arjuna, by knowing me more and more and more, your bhakti will blossom and grow. How should you know me? Bhutadim avyayam. I am the cause of all living beings. I am the imperishable cause of all living beings. How should you? Arjuna wants to further know about Krishna and know Krishna, and Krishna says, hey Arjuna, let me make it very easy as to how you can know me, and therefore your bhakti can blossom. Pitahamasya jakataha mata dhata pitamaha vedyam pavitram omkaraha riksama yajurvedasa gatir bharta prabhussakshi nivasa sharanam suhrut. And he says, hey Arjuna, the moment you start knowing me, bhakti will naturally grow in you. Pitahamasya jagataha. I am the pita of this jagat. Who is the pita? Pita is one who takes care of one's hita. He is pita. Pita is not only the one who is the cause for one's birth. No. We all have to look at our fathers, and through the father we have to look at the Loka Pita. Every father plays the role of a Loka Pita, taking care of the hita of the putra or putri. And what is the hita? Hita is what is right for me, what is the right thing for me, by giving me this opportunity of life. That the life has to be used to reach my Lokapita. That is the hita. So, pitahamasya jagataha mata. I am not only pita. The pitas in the loka remain only pitas. They cannot be mata. The role of a mata is very difficult. But Bhagavan can be the greatest of the pitas and the greatest of the matas. Pitahamasya jagataha mata. I am not only pita, I am also your mata, because mata is the very embodiment of Vatsalya gunas. Unbounded love, where the mata accepts our defects, our impurities as they are, and no questions asked. The dirt, the decay, everything is accepted as is. This, if If a mata, on a mortal mata can do this, can we imagine Bhagavan, who is the mata of all matas? Pitahamasya jagataha mata dhata. I am pita, I am mata, I am dhata. I am the sustainer. Dhata pitamaha. No, I am not only pita, I am also pitamaha. He is basically saying, I am karana, I am jagat karana, I am adi karana, I am adbhuta karana, I am nishkarana. I am cause, I am causeless. Mata dhata pitamaha. Vedyam pavitram. I am the only one to be known. No amount of PhDs will help. No, the only PhD that will help is Gita. And we all realize this in our journey. There, Krishna clearly says, when we know Krishna, everything else is known. Vedyam pavitram omkaraha. Omkara is saying that I am the seed of all the Vedas, but there is a reason why Krishna is saying, I am Omkara. The Shabdas, A, U, Ma, A, U, Ma. To utter these Shabdas, we don't need the tongue. These Shabdas can be uttered by anyone, even those who are unfortunately dumb. Even those whose tongues don't function can utter these Shabdas. A, U, Ma. Now, A, U, Ma, when you put together becomes Om. Which means Bhagavan is accessible to everyone, including those who do not have the physical capability of speech. This shows his compassion to all the living beings. Vedyam pavitram omkaraha riksama yajarevacha. He is the one who is revealed in all the Shastras. He is the Gati. He is the destination. Gatir Bharta. He is not only the end destination, he is Bharta. He is there at every step as we take the journey, supporting us. Gatir Bharta Prabhu. He is the Lord who is orchestrating the journey. Gatir Bharta Prabhu Sakshihi. He remains a witness, journeying along with us. If we want, he helps us. If we do not want, he remains faithfully witnessing. Gatir Bharta Prabhu Sakshi Nivasaha. He is the abode, he is the home. When we say Bhagavan is the home, he is Gati, he is the long-term goal. We may think Krishna is a long-term goal. I have many other short-term and mid-term. I have too many things. Let me finish all of this and eventually I'll go after retirement. So he says, Nivasaha, I am your short-term goal, I am your mid-term goal, I am your long-term goal. You and I are inseparable here, Arjuna. So do not postpone coming to me after retirement. Do it right away. Nivasaha Sharanam. He is the refuge, the means for both Ishtaprapti and Anishta Nivritti. Sharanam Suhrit. He is the ultimate well-wisher for all of us. Sharanam Suhrit. And Nidhanam Bijam Avyayam. Nidhanam. He is the treasure. He is the only treasure and is Bijam Avyayam. Imperishable seed. Essentially reminding us that every resource that we have, he is the source. He is the source of the never-ending resources. We may wonder sometimes, how come we have so much of resources? All of us are blessed. It's just that we don't count. The number of resources, including our body, mind and intellect that we have, are countless. And the resources keep coming. Bijam Avyayam, source of all resources. Bhagavan is so very compassionate that he not only gives us a gift called life, he keeps giving gifts in life. We don't realize that. We don't realize a gift called life, and we also don't realize all the gifts in our life. But he keeps remaining. When Krishna reveals this, when we get to know him, that he is Gatir Bharta, Prabhu Sakshi, Nivasa, Sharanam Suhrit. And when we know him, he is Pitahamasya Jagataha, Mata, Dhata, Pitamaha, Vedyam Pavitram Omkara, Hariksam Yujurevacha. How can we not love him? That is why he says, Mahatmanastu Mam Partha Devim Prakritimashitaha Bhajanti Ananya Manasaha Jnatva. As we know more and more, our love for Krishna blossoms and keeps growing. Mad Bhaktaha. When Krishna gives a call, Mad Bhaktaha, devote yourselves to me. Do loving devotional service to me. It is in the process of knowing him more and more, knowing about him, experiencing him and knowing him more, we naturally start to love him. It doesn't become a choice. It comes naturally to us because our natural state is to deeply love Krishna. So therefore, mad bhaktaha, mad parayanaha, mad bhaktaha, madhyaji. Madhyaji, he says, continue to do work and do every work as a yajna, as a worship, by offering everything to me. We may wonder, how can I can worship him when I'm in front of the altar, and I can offer Naivedya, I can offer flowers, I can offer Patram Pushpam Phalam Thoyam, all that I can do. But then when Krishna says, offer everything to me, offer your work to me, how do I do that? No, Krishna gives a very simple formula. He says, Yat karoshi, yadasnasi, yad juhoshi, dadasi yad. Yat tapasyasi kaunteya, tat kurushva madarpanam. The Madhyaji, when he says, he gives us the formula. No, any actions that we do, actions for our mundane living, actions as per the injunctions of the Shastras, he says, offer everything to me. Which means every mundane action, or a trivial action, or very significant action, everything can be offered to Krishna. Yat karoshi, yadashnashi, yat karoshi. Anything that we do for livelihood, for the sake of our bodily needs, even that, all those actions can be offered to Krishna. Do as Krishna Kainkarya. Yadashnasi. Even simple things like eating. Eating, of course, is not simple, right? It's very, very important for us. Always we have this debate whether we eat to live or live to eat. And we know what side wins. But this eating is so very important. Like we all believe that, right? Krishna also says it's very, very important. But then what is important is to recognize that eating is worship. Yes, we also know eating is paid puja. It is also worship. No. Eating is not paid puja. Eating is Krishna's puja. How is that? Yadashnasi. Eating, we are basically offering nourishment to the body, and in that process we are giving ahuti to the pancha pranas, recognizing the pancha pranas are a small fraction of the limitless nourishing power of Krishna. And therefore, every time when we eat, it is an opportunity for thanksgiving to Krishna. Thanksgiving not only for the tasty food which is Krishna Prasada, but also thanksgiving that because we are able to take care of his resource. Ultimately, the body belongs to him, not to us. And we have a responsibility to take care what has been. We are trustees of this body, not owners. And as trustees, we have to take care of this body. Yat karoshi, yadashnasi, yad juhoshi, dadasi yat. Every yajna that we perform, every charity that we do, tat yat tapasyasi, the tapasyas that we do, mat kurushva madarpanam. We have this. What is Krishna saying? Offer the work to me. We need to recognize that when we do any work, we are using resources basically, including our body, our mind, our intelligence, and all the other resources. And every resource with which we do our work belongs to him. So when we do work, what is that which belongs to us? Everything belongs to him. And what is that we can offer to him? The only thing that we can offer to him is not the resources which belong to him anyway. The work that we do with the resources that he has given us, that work itself we can offer to Krishna, saying, this is only for you, this is to please you. So therefore, doing work as worship, when Krishna says, Manmana bhava madbhaktaha madhyaji, understand that every resource is a gift. Every resource is Krishna's gift to us. And every consequence of action that we do is his prasada. When we internalize this truth, everything that we do becomes Krishna Kainkarya, Madhyaji. Now, there is a reason why I did not go in the same order as Krishna talked. No, Krishna said, Manmana Bhava, Madbhaktaha, Madhyaji, Mam Namaskuru, and in the earlier shloka, Matparayanaha. So we covered Matparayanaha. We started with the goal. Krishna ended with the goal. We are starting with the goal. Then Madbhaktaha, knowing the goal, how do we need to perform devotional service to Krishna? Madbhaktaha. Madhyaji. Bhakti is also about doing work as Krishna Kainkarya. Madhyaji. Now let us come to Manmana Bhava. Manmana Bhava is the most important injunction in the law of divine love. Manmana Bhava. So, always keep contemplating of Krishna. Constant contemplation of Krishna. Thinking about Krishna all the time. Offering our mind Krishna. Remembrance, loving remembrance. Constantly thinking of Krishna essentially means investing ourselves in Krishna fully. Because wherever we are emotionally invested, that is where our thoughts gravitate. If we are emotionally invested in physical property, we are always thinking of only physical property. Emotionally invested in cash, we are always counting cash. If emotionally invested in relationships, we are always thinking about only bodily relationships. Wherever our emotions are invested, that is where our thoughts will gravitate. So when Krishna says, Manmana Bhava, invest all your emotions in Krishna. Now, essentially, when we say, when we think about Krishna, we can do it as an activity and we can also do it as cultivating a habit, making it as an attitude. Like we have seen this analogy before. If there is a floor which is tilted southwards, and if we pour water, the water will naturally flow down south. Why? Because the flooring is tilted southwards. Now, if we need to change the direction, we have to do two things. One, we have to start pushing the water northwards. This is sadhana. This is abhyasa, practice, remembrance. We have to exert, put effort to practice Krishna. This is like pushing the water in the opposite direction when the floor is tilted, because the mind is always inclined towards the world and our thoughts naturally gravitate towards the world. So we need to do some sadhana to reverse the flow of our thoughts. The second we should do is eventually we should change the structure of the flooring. We should make it incline northwards so that the water will automatically flow. So that when we change the inclination of the mind towards Krishna, then our thoughts will start naturally flowing towards him. Manmana Bhava. Thinking of Krishna at all times, at all places. Even when situations, whatever be the situations, good, bad, ugly, keep thinking of Krishna. Manmana Bhava. Immediately we start asking Krishna, how is it possible? How can we think of Krishna at all times? It is definitely possible. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Namah Pankajanabhaya, Namah Pankajamalini, Namah Pankajanetraya, Namaste Pankajangraye. This is how Kunti begins her glorious Kunti Stuti. Kunti teaches us how to remember Krishna at all times. Vishan Mahagne Purushada Darshanad Asatsabhaya Vanavasa Kritrataha Mride Mride Aneka Maharatastrataha Drauni Astrataschasma Hare Abhirakshita. Hey Krishna, what kind of dangers I faced in my life? Danger after danger, danger after danger, calamity after calamity. If we need to take an example of a life filled with adversities, it is Kunti Rani. Supreme example how she teaches amidst all adversities how to keep praying, how to keep remembering Krishna, how to thank Krishna for everything, because she is able to see Krishna's helping hand in every situation. She is able to see Krishna's beautiful signature in every situation, good, bad, ugly. Vishan Mahagne. Vishan. Kunti says, hey Krishna, she's addressing Krishna. When Bhima was poisoned, the despicable act of Duryodhana poisoning Bhima and throwing him in the river, you are the one who miraculously saved him. Bhima eventually emerged more powerful because Vasuki gives him a magic potion, Vishan Mahagne. That incident where the Kauravas decided to set fire to Laksha Griha in Varanavata. Krishna, it is you through Vidura, it is you who protected us. My sons and I, we escaped that calamity, without any damage whatsoever. Vishan Mahagre Purushada Darshanad. Purusha, when we were in the forest, we encountered so many cannibals, man-eaters. The fight between Bhima and Hidimba, it was you who protected Bhima, who protected my sons, you protected me. Vishan Mahagne Purushada Darshanad Asat Sabhaya. That Dyuta Sabha where Draupadi was insulted. In spite of that humiliation, Draupadi was made to go through dishonor and she became the most honorable. The lowest point in her life was transformed by Krishna Bhakti to the highest point, an example. You are the one who protected her. It demonstrating that when a bhakta earnestly calls you, you come rushing wherever you are. Shankha Chakra Gadapane Dwaraka Nilayachyuta Govinda Pundarikaksha Rakshamam Sharanagatam Rakshamam. When Draupadi called, you were there in the form of that unending flow of that sari, protecting her. Vishan Mahagne Purushada Darshanat Asat Sabhaya Vanavasa Krichataha. What kind of difficulties we faced during Vanavasa, you repeatedly protected us. Mride Mride Aneka Maharatastrataha. On the battlefield of Kurukshetra, if only you were because of you, my sons were protected. Arjuna may think he won the war. It was you who won the war for Pandavas. And towards the end, Drauni Astratas Chasma. When Ashwathama sent that Brahmastra trying to eliminate the last of the Pandava clans, that you miraculously went inside Uttara's womb and you became the protective shield and you protected Parikshit. Hey Krishna, you are the protector. And she doesn't stop there. She says, Vipadashantutasaswat tatra tatra jagadguru apadaha darshanam yatsyat apunaravam bhavadarsanam. Let Vipada keep coming, hey Krishna. Keep sending me adversities, keep sending me problems, keep sending all kinds of calamities. I welcome calamities because I recognize that every adversity is an impetus for me not to test Krishna, but to taste Krishna. It is through adversity I can connect with him, I can remember him. Draupadi's profound wisdom cannot be easily understood. Draupadi says, to Draupadi, pain in life is a protector and a pointer. Pain in life is both a protector. How it is a protector? The pain that we go through in life, all kinds of physical and mental afflictions that we go through in life is a protector. Why? Just like how when we touch fire, it is the pain of the burning sensation which immediately says that we should remove our hand from the fire. Similarly, every pain in our life is a reminder that we should not be allured by the worldliness. The worldly pleasures allure us. We should realize that the pain is natural in this world and it should remind that we cannot. So it is a protector, protects us from getting entrapped in the worldly allurements. The pain is also a pointer. World's miseries point to one important reality. This world, this creation is subject to the law of impermanence of everything. Life is so very fragile and this is not where we belong. It points to Krishna, it points to where we really belong. We belong out of the world. When we love the world maker, he shall take us out of the world to his abode. So to Kunti, this profound wisdom is essentially saying that it is not asking for problems to come. Kunti is not worried about problems. neither she is desperate to get freedom from problems, nor she is just saying let problems come. What she is asking for is one important fundamental truth. We all don't find a need for Krishna. We have needs and wants. We have to see there is a big difference. Need is something without which we cannot lead our lives. Wants are good to have. No, air, food, water are needs, shelter. Everything else are wants. Now we need to look at in the list of needs and in the list of wants, where does Krishna find his place? In our life and living, Krishna finds a place in the list of wants, not in the list of needs. Kunti teaches Manmana Bhava is all about cultivating that realization that in my life and living, I need Krishna. When there is that need for Krishna, then there is no need to put any effort to contemplate on, because we are always contemplating on our needs. And when Krishna becomes a need, then contemplating on Krishna comes very naturally. Therefore, Kunti's teaching through Kunti's Stuti is so very important. When he says, Vipadas Santutas, let Vipadas come, it is to realize that we are never alone. We are never alone. And it is the nature of this world, which is subject to the law of dualities, that there are going to be adversities, there are going to be problems, there are going to be calamities of all magnitudes, of all dimensions. And instead of trying to escape from this, we might as well be courageous and look at Krishna and say, hey Krishna, I know that you are going to present me with problems which are anyway a product of my own karma. Instead of resisting them, I welcome them. But I also at the same time, I delegate that you take care, you be my savior. Therefore, thinking all the time, bad times, good times, ugly times, during all the times, Manmana Bhava. When Krishna says Manmana Bhava, he is essentially underlying that fact. That thirst for Krishna has to become natural to us. This is what our acharyas call Krishna Trishna. That thirst, unending thirst. And what is that which is stopping us from practicing Manmana Bhava? That is why Krishna next says, Mam Namaskuru. Manmana Bhava Madbhaktaha Madhyaji Mam Namaskuru. Mam Namaskuru. We have two adversaries who travel with us all the time, two enemies. We have spent 1 million lives on this planet, and these two adversaries keep coming. One adversary is the adversary which is this conception of I belong to myself. I belong to myself. I don't belong to anyone, I belong to myself. That is adversary number one. Adversary number two, everything belongs to me. These are the two adversaries. And these are the two adversaries which come in the way of us spiritually progressing. So when Krishna says Namaskuru, Namaha Kuru, offer obeisances, offer prostrations to Krishna, surrender your mind and intelligence to Krishna and internalize Namaha. No, yesterday we all said Namaha 1,000 times. Om Vishwaya Namaha, Vishnave Namaha, Vashatkaraya Namaha. No, the beauty of Namaha is we take Bhagavan's Nama, add Namaha, it becomes a mantra. Just by adding Namaha to a Nama, it becomes a potent mantra that can do miracles. Now this Namaha, while we chanted Namaha 1,000 times yesterday, I don't know whether we also did Namaha mentally prostrations 1,000 times. That is the idea. Every time we say Namaha, we have to mentally prostrate to him. Offer our mind, our intelligence to Bhagavan. Now, what is namaha? Na maha. I do not belong to myself. Na mama, I belong to myself. Everything belongs to me. Ishavasyam idam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagati tena tyaktena bunjitaha mahagrata kasyas vidhanam. Ishavasya Upanishad. Bhagavan says, Ishavasyam idam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagati. Everything that you can see, perceive, not see, unseen and the seen, everything belongs to me, to Bhagavan. Nothing belongs to us. We keep thinking that we can possess things, we can hold on to things. And the Maha, I am my possessor, I belong to myself, and I always go after my belongings without realizing that I and my so-called belongings belong to only one. Everything belongs only to Krishna. Namaha, which means I am not my possessor. I do not belong to myself. Then who do I belong to? I belong to Krishna. I belong to Krishna. I belong only to him. He can say, no, I also belong to Krishna. I also belong to many things else. I belong to my house. I belong to this relationship. I belong to this land. I belong to this property. No, I belong. No, I am a servant only to Bhagavan. I cannot be a servant to my cash. I cannot be a servant to my house. I cannot be a servant to my desires. And also say, in somewhere in between, I will adjust Krishna. Namaha means I only belong to him, and everything else also belongs to him. So this elimination of that final hurdle that comes, Krishna is trying to eliminate that hurdle for us. That is why he says, Mam namaskuru manmana bhava madbhaktaha madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyasi. You shall certainly attain me. Now, atma yuktvaivam atmanam. When you engage in all the activities by being united with me, atmanam, your mind constantly being united with me. Atmanam yuktvaivam. When Krishna has to we should not just recognize his presence, we have to recognize him as our possessor. Our heart and mind needs to be possessed by him. The growth of bhakti is where Krishna penetrates, permeates, pervades, and eventually possesses us. It's like when there are rains, the field receives the rains. Now, the rainwater penetrates and permeates the field. The field has soil, the earth, and many other things, rocks, soils, everything. But still, it somehow allows the water to penetrate and permeate. We also are filled with rocks and soil and dirt and impurities. When luckily the same senses which bring us dirt can also bring Krishna into us. That is why Shravanam is very important. Shravanam is so very important because the same senses can work both ways. So Krishna can begin to penetrate and permeate in the form of Shabda Brahman, through his namas, through his glories, through his gunas, and slowly as he starts permeating, what happens? Magic starts to happen. He starts to permeate and he starts to pervade. And once his pervasion starts to happen in our hearts and minds, we see the transformation happening in us. And then the next stage of pervasion is possession. Ultimately, we all become possessed. A bhakta is one who is possessed by Bhagavan. It's good to be possessed. Unfortunately, we are also possessed today, possessed by our possessions, material possessions. We need to become possessed by Krishna. That's why earlier he says, Mame Vaishyasi Yuktvaivam Atmanam Matparayanaha. Now the law of divine love is so very clear to us. But still, we have some doubts. We are still a little bit worried. Krishna has said, Mame Vaishyasi, you shall certainly reach me, you will attain me. And looking at each and every one of us, Krishna realizes that it is not enough. It is not enough. After having clearly given the tools, the framework, everything that is needed, Krishna loves us so much. He loves us as we are. Very important to recognize this. It does not matter how virtuous we are. It does not matter whether we are inclined towards Him, whether we love Him or we do not love Him. It does not matter at all. He unconditionally loves everyone. God is present fully in the godless as well. So, Krishna, fact number 1, Krishna loves us as we are. Fact number 2, He loves us too much that He does not want us to stay where we are. He loves us. He loves us as we are. He loves us too much so that He does not let us stay as we are. So that is the reason why unconditionally He is giving us all the tools, all the framework that is required for us, using the tools to eradicate our lower desires and irrigate our higher desires so that we can strengthen the bhakti for Krishna within our hearts. Such is His love and compassion for us. Now in 1865, he goes on, Manmana bhava madbhaktaha madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyasi satyante. In the 9th chapter, he only said Mame Vaishyasi. Now he is qualifying what he is already assured, because we have a very good habit. We are always good when it comes to questioning, because our faith is very weak. Our Shraddha is weak. Even if Krishna comes in front of us and says, I am assuring you, we say, thank you Krishna, but is this a guarantee? Lifetime guarantee hai? Arey, multi-lifetime guarantee hai. But we are not just an ordinary assurance, we want assurance and reassurance of the assurance. Krishna knows this, because he's been assuring this patiently, life after life. Now, when Krishna says, how do you implement the law of love? By saying, Manmana bhava madbhaktaha madhyaji mam namaskuru. Essentially, what is he saying? Kaya, manasa, vacha. Through your body, through your mind and your speech, you should connect with me and offer everything you do to me. Now, when we look at every manifestation of our action, every gross action starts at a subtle level. Why do I say that? It is the thought in the mind which starts. The thought in the mind then slowly becomes, from the thought, it becomes speech. Then the speech becomes the basis for action. The action becomes the basis for habits. The habit becomes basis for our character. Our character becomes the basis for our destination. This is what the pathway that Krishna is talking about through Manmana Bhava is, essentially the pathway to our destination. Now everything goes to start with the thought, to the mind, Manmana Bhava. That's why he starts with Manmana. Madbhaktaha, Madhyaji, everything is possible only when we start to cultivate contemplation of Krishna. Only when our mind gets purified, only when our mind is occupied fully by Krishna, only when we constantly keep thinking about Him, we will eventually reach Him. The destination, therefore, depends on our thoughts. If you see the pathway, that is why way back in the 8th chapter, Krishna said, Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajattante kalevaram tam tamevaiti kaunteya sada tadbhava bhavitaha. Whatever your thought is at the end of the death, that is what you will become. That is the state you will attain. This is a very, very dangerous fact of life. It's a truth. It's a law of life. Why it is very we sometimes do not realize the magnitude of this fact, of this law. The thoughts that run in our mind at the time of death will determine our next birth, or will determine no birth. Both moksha and continuation in samsara are both determined by that. Now, why? Because it is the thought which leads ultimately to the destiny. Now, the problem that we have is so very humongous. Why? This mind, the thoughts in the mind are all driven by our vasanas, the impressions. Now, these vasanas are impressions that we have faithfully accumulated, not in this lifetime, over millions of lifetimes. For once, imagine the impressions that we carry in our mind have come from the kinds of lives that we have led, thousands and millions of lives in the before. If one lived a life of a cockroach, those impressions are also faithfully stored. If one had the body of a crocodile, those impressions are also faithfully stored. We would have had countless physical bodies. No, Manushya Janma is so very, very priceless, and it is a great opportunity bestowed to us. All the impressions accumulated over several Janmas are all there in this mind. And the danger of this mind is these vasanas in the mind, it can allow sometimes even unconsciously two vasanas, unwanted vasanas, unsolicited, getting interacted and manifesting as action, manifesting as a thought. No, we all have experienced this. We would be sitting somewhere and a needless thought will suddenly pop up, completely unrelated to where we are, without our effort. Sometimes we may be feeling very bad about ourselves, because that is the sorry state. That is I should say, a manufacturing defect of the mind. Also, these vasanas can also be triggered by external stimuli as well. There could be some stimuli which can trigger a vasana that has been hidden in my mind, not that which I acquired in this life, which I acquired in several lifetimes back. And suddenly, my behavior, my thought may suddenly be out of place. When we start contemplating on this is mind-boggling, literally. And then when Krishna says Manmana Bhava in that context, it becomes very clear as to why it is important to cultivate his remembrance. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam. He also says, Tesham nityabhiyukta, always keep contemplating. That's why he is a Manma. Now, we are really worried. We are now in fear. The more we contemplate on this, we are in fear. Because why? It looks like now I am out of control, all that completely, I have no control. Krishna's answer is, when did you have ever control? Or to think that you suddenly have no control. Why are you just fooling yourself? Sometimes we become very, very intellectual. That is why he says, Mame Vaishyasi Satyante Pratijane. Now Krishna is making one more. Satyante Pratijane. He says, I am making that promise. Do not focus on your fear. Now, do not focus on the fear of your promise also. Let's say we make a promise that I will cultivate Krishna, remembrance of Krishna. I will do bhakti to Krishna. But we are in fear that we cannot do justice to this promise that we have made. And we all know that. We keep breaking these promises every day. And therefore we are in fear that if I make this promise, Krishna has said, Manmana bhavat bhaktaha vadyaji mam namaskuru. I made the promise, but I'm breaking the promise. Because I'm unable to keep the promise. Krishna says, don't be in fear of you not keeping your promise. Be confident of my ability to keep promise. focus on his ability to keep promises, not our inability to keep our promises. He says, Mame Vaishyasi Satyante Pratijani. And therefore, when it becomes mind-boggling to us, Manmana Bhava, if I am not able to think of him all the time, what is going to happen? Even for great jnanis, bhaktas, there will be times when the body does not cooperate, when the mind does not cooperate. We will be unable, forget about doing physical kainkarya, we will be unable to do even manasa kainkarya, unable to even think of him. What is the way out? Hey Krishna. Krishna says, Satyante pratijari me. Stite manasi suspaste sharire satiyo naraha dhatu samye ste smarta vishwarupam cha mamacham tatastam priyamanam tu kashtapashana sannibam aham smarapi madbhaktam nayapi paramam katim. The greatest of promises, Krishna is reminding us here. When a bhakta who is endowed with an able body, able mind and able intelligence is able to contemplate on him and serve him, Krishna says, I know that this body, this mind and this intellect will perish. They are subject to the law of decay. There will be times when we will be incapacitated. There will be times where we will be not able. There will be times when both physically and mentally we will be forced, we will be pushed into a corner where we will struggle. Krishna says, do not worry about those struggles. He says, during those times when you struggle, when you are incapacitated, even when the body becomes like a piece of stone, like a piece of log, incapable of doing anything, even the mind freezes. Do not worry. During those times, even if you cannot remember me, I shall remember you. That is why he says, Mame Vaishyasi Satyante Pratijane. Nayami Paramam Sthanam Archiradi Gatimvina Garudaskandamaropya Yatecham Anivaritaha. He again in Varaha Purana, the same Varaha Purana, where he gives this assurance, he says, Nayami Paramam Sthanam Archiradi Gatimvina. We all need to struggle to catch that exit of Archiradi, which takes us out of this samsara to Paramapada. We need to do all kinds of sadhanas. Not easy at all. But Krishna promises. He says, Nayami Paramam Sthanam Archiradi Katimvina. Yes, if you do Ashtanga Yoga, if you do all kinds of sadhanas, yes, you can catch that highway of Archiradi and exit the Prakriti Mandala. But let me assure you, Manmana Bhava Madbhaktaha Madhyaji Mam Namaskuru. When you follow this law of divine love and lead your lives around this Garudaskandamaropya Yatecham Anivaritaha. Mounted on Garuda, I shall come to you at the appropriate time to take you back where you rightly belong. Mame Vaishyasi Satyante Pratijani. This is my solemn pledge. This is the promise that I am making to you. We all think that Krishna is invisible to us. And therefore, sometimes we may wrongly conclude, especially when we go through some tough times, we may think, does God really care about me? Does he know that somebody like me exists on this planet? What is this? I am suffering. I am going through a lot of pain. And this supposedly compassionate Bhagavan, who has made all kinds of assurances in the Gita, is he even there? Is he even caring about me? This assurance, Satyante Pratijani me priyosi me. He extends that. He says, Krishna may be invisible to us, but we are never invisible to him. Very important to realize and internalize this. Krishna may be invisible to us because of our material conditionings, because of the blindfold that Prakriti creates for us. Bhagavat Swarupa Tirodhana Karim. No, Swami Ramanuja beautifully says, Bhagat Swarupa Tirodhana Karim. There is a curtain between me and Krishna. Prakriti draws a curtain, black curtain, dark curtain. So I don't get to know him, experience him, see him at all. You have to slowly remove the curtain, right? Only then we start. Now, Krishna is saying, we need to know that even if I cannot see him, he is always seeing me. He is always protecting me. Krishna not only sees us, he seeks us. This shloka is that declaration. Mame vaishyasi satyante pratijane priyosi me. He not only sees us, he seeks us. He wants us to come to him more than we want to go near him. This is the fact. And he does everything possible, giving us all the opportunity that is needed for us to get closer, closer, and closer to him. And when we realize this declaration of Krishna, this promise, this solemn pledge of Krishna, this demonstration of this boundless love for all of us, should we ever be challenged in our life and living? Should we have any iota of doubt? And should we even need to have this question as to why I should love Krishna? Manmana bhava madbhaktaha madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyasi satyante pratijane priyosime. The law of divine love addresses the root of all our ills and shows us a clear highway to attain Bhagavan. Now we see that Gita is revelation of that boundless love of Krishna for all of us and an invitation. He's already, his invitation is there. His invitation is there. We all give an invitation in a cover and we send our invitation to WhatsApp and we expect somebody to read the invitation also. Sometimes some read, some don't read. But then Krishna is sending an invitation and making us read. That is the special invitation. Invitation, revelation of love and invitation for us to love him. We see the Gita starts with expression of Krishna's love. Nanu shochitu marhasi. Arjuna, now you are so very dear to me. I cannot see you grieving. When Krishna says that, he is saying this to each and every one of us. I cannot see you grieving. Do not worry. Be happy. Mashuchaha. What is Mashuchaha? A crescendo of the declarations of this expression of love. For that we need to wait until the 1st of January, where we will relish the crescendo of the song Celestial. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tva sarvapapebhyo mokshaishyami masuchaha. Until then, let us keep contemplating on this very shloka where Krishna combines what we should do and what he shall do and makes a solemn pledge, gives us assurance, reassurance, and assurance of the promise with an expression of boundless love. Together, let us chant once again, Manmana bhava madbhaktaha madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyasi satyante प्रतिजाने प्रियोऽसि मे. सर्वं श्रीकृष्णार्पणमस्तु.